Hey, it's Jamie, thanks for stopping by, and today I want to talk about some of your hot book takes. Oh yes, this is how we're kicking off the channel, with your hot book takes. I have no idea if I'm going to agree, disagree, and I definitely have some of my own, so are you ready? Romantasy is actually a great genre if it's gay. Aren't a lot of things better if they're gay? Wouldn't a lot of things be a good genre if they're gay? If I'm honest, romantasy, I'm assuming is romance and fantasy swirling together to make the little romantasy baby. I don't think it's really a genre that I've read very much of. I literally cannot think of a single book I've read that I think would fit into that category. And I think it's two things that on their own I don't read a lot of either. I definitely don't read a lot of romance, and then fantasy has to be really specific for me to get into. I don't know why. It's just a preference. But definitely, I would agree, better if it were gay. I would be more likely to read gay romantasy than straight romantasy. But hold on, the statement of romantasy would be a good genre if it were gay makes me think that there is a general opinion that it's not a very good genre. I would like to know. Let me know, is this the case? Books don't always need to have a crazy good / unpredictable / original plot to be enjoyable. I totally agree, because I think if authors are constantly trying to think of the wildest, most out there, never been done before plot for every single book, things are just gonna get a bit bizarre, and maybe not everybody would enjoy that. Maybe it would be like too fantasy or too extreme. I actually quite like a good, cozy, wholesome little book about seemingly nothing but with a nice message. I read one recently. I don't think I have it here, but I should definitely have it up here, but it was called The Second Chance Convenience Store, and I would put it in the category of like, it doesn't have a unpredictable or hugely out there blah storyline, but it's so cute and it's so wholesome, and I would highly recommend reading it. It made me cry. So yeah, I totally agree with this take. Straight women write the worst gay MLM smut scenes. I mean, I'd have to agree. I don't think I've read that many. A lot of the books I've read that have like gay romances in have been written by people who are within that community. It kind of reminds me, like, if you're gonna write about the experiences or a type of relationship or anything that isn't your identity or your experience or relationship that you would be in, I think it's never going to be that great unless you consult with people who are from that community. I could see if a straight woman was writing about a gay romance, as in two men, how that would perhaps not be the most authentic unless she'd heavily consulted with like gay men in her life who were in a relationship and basically gave her the characterizations. But I've not read any specifically myself. I would love to hear some examples. That made it sound like I don't believe you. I do absolutely believe this. Not all books need love interests. Yes, not all books need love interests. I've read a lot of books this year that I don't think have love interests in, or where a love interest isn't a big part of the storyline, and actually, I think it can sometimes be more enjoyable. I don't mind if there's a crossover between love interests and romance in a book that's about zombies and murder, but sometimes you just want the zombies and the murder and not so much the love interest. I totally agree. It's like when you watch a good movie or like a TV show and then the plotline ends up to be totally intertwined with a love story, and then this big thing only happens because they fall in love or they think they like each other, and it's a little bit boring, personally. Not all the time, but some of the time. Any form of reading is valid, e.g. comics, audiobooks, children's books as an adult. Yes, it's the same thing when people get all like snotty over different genres, and it's like, oh well, you don't read this genre, so therefore you are a subpar reader. It's not that. You want to read comics, you read mostly YA and you're an adult, you listen to books and you don't read them physically on the page. You are still consuming books, you are still reading. There's no way of consuming that media that should be seen as superior to one another. You're not better because you've read Charles Dickens or Jane Austen than the person who reads Simpson comics and listens to YA audiobooks. We don't like J.K. Rowling for many reasons, but Harry Potter is not well written. Good premise, bad execution. Yes, we do not like J.K. Rowling for many reasons. I've actually not read the books in such a long time. I remember them appealing to me when I was a child. I don't know if they would be something I would read now. That's partly because they're not within the genre of things I really like to read. But as an adult, like seeing things like Lord of the Rings, I'm like, wow, okay. A bad, evil guy where his soul is attached to a physical item that must be destroyed to kill him for good, and he has this presence in the world that is not a physical presence, but he can still harm you, and he's always watching, and people are terrified, and oh, there's a good wizard who helps and has a long grey beard. I feel like when you look at at other things within the similar genre, you see all of like the inspiration. I'm not saying specifically where that came from, but I definitely think there are better stories within the genre of kind of like fantasy and magic that are not Harry Potter. I think there are ones that came before and there are ones that came after, and I'm going to do an entire video about things to read instead of Harry Potter if you are as disappointed in J.K. Rowling as you should be. Just because you started it doesn't mean you have to finish it before starting another one. In principle, I agree with this. For me, I can't do it. If you are somebody who can have 3 or 4 books on the go at one time, I applaud you. Great respect, do it. If I am partway through a book, and it's sometimes what's tripped me up in the past with then getting slow at reading and not reading more books, if I'm reading one that's particularly like tricky or I'm struggling through but I really want to see it through to the end, because also not finishing a book that you're not enjoying, also totally okay, my personal opinion. I don't like leaving things not read. So right now, I really want to talk about movie adaptations of books. So I'm reading the Wicked book. Spoiler, I'm not enjoying it that much. It has been a bit of a slog. It's taken me much longer to read than I wanted it to. I'm on the last 50 pages and I'm actually struggling to make myself finish the book. But for me, I wouldn't start another book alongside, even though I could be reading another book in the times where I feel like I should read this book, but I'm just not in the mood for it. But I can't hold the 2 storylines in my head at the same time. I get so confused. Even if I'm watching a TV series that I'm really into, so we're also like binge watching The Walking Dead at the minute, I keep flitting back and forward and I have to remind myself that no, a witch on a broomstick is not about to fly in to save Rick Grimes, and also no, a zombie is not about to eat Bok. And so it confuses me. So I need like one book at a time. However, if you are the kind of person that can take on multiple in one go, then yeah, sure, you don't have to finish the one before to start reading the next one. I don't see why that would be a thing. Most of these are like, is that a hot take? I just thought that was a fine opinion. Oh, saying that, this next one, folding the corners of pages isn't that big of a deal. Same with cracking the spines. No, I can't. I know it's not a big deal. I don't judge people who do it to their own books, but I will not lend out a book that I don't want to keep perfect. So like, if I've read a book and I'm planning on donating them or passing them on to other people after I finish reading them, I will loan them out. They're no longer my property. Goodbye. If they're books that are special to me and I want to keep them, absolutely not. The spine cannot be bent. No dog earring of my books. I remember in primary school, I lent a paperback book that I'd already read, and I've been like this since I was a child. I went through a very short phase of bending the spine and literally folding paperbacks in half, but it made me really sad, even though it was so much easier to read, that I stopped after 2 books. That's how short the phase was. I lent a book to a friend. He wasn't a friend after this. I'm kidding. He was, kind of. I lent a book to a friend in primary school, and it went out perfect, and I'd already read it, and it came back ruined. I don't even know what he did. It's like he drop kicked it into a pond and then put it through a blender. Like, it was just awful. And I was not happy. I didn't lend anyone books after that. But all of my books look brand new, and they will always look brand new. No matter how many times I read them, I will make sure they always look brand new. So for you, on your books, yes, you do what you want with your books. I will just not look or pay attention. For me, every single book has to keep looking new, no matter how much I love it, no matter how much I've read it. And I will not lend my books out, because if somebody ruins a book, oh, they owe me a new copy. Non-fiction books are super interesting, especially ones about dinosaurs. I would agree. And I think non-fiction is something I've been sleeping on, in adulthood in particular. Cis people need to stop writing books with trans main characters. They're never good. I feel like this is the same conversation as the straight women writing like gay couples. Yeah, I think it's great if like a cis person with a platform or the opportunity to be a published author or write a TV show or characters in a TV show. I think it's fantastic if they want to use the platform that they have as a cis person who's already paved a way in this space for themselves to uplift and represent the trans community. But it always has to be done with a great level of care, attention to detail, and consulting. A range of different experiences, and making sure that you have people from that group on board with the creation of that character. I stop myself from going so far as to saying cis people should just not write trans characters, because unfortunately, like, barrier to entry with a lot of mainstream media type things, including like publishing and TV, is really, really high. And it's very hard to get in those rooms. It's really hard to get published and do all of these things, that a majority of the people that we're going to see achieving that are cis people, because they're also a majority of the population. There are amazing trans authors out there though. I'd always encourage people to check out those authors before checking out a book where a cis person has written a trans main character. But I think if a cis person has the opportunity to offer that representation where a trans person may not be given that opportunity, do it, but make sure that trans people are involved. I don't mind real people on covers, but I hate it when they have visible faces. That's a very specific take. I'm trying to think if I have a book up here that would fit that category, and I think this one has a real person face on it, but this is because it's a novelization of a movie, so that kind of makes sense. And also, I don't hate the way this has been done. Generally, though, I would agree with that take. I personally am overall not a fan of book covers that use photographs, especially photographs of people. I think the one thing I hate is it makes it look a bit like magazine-y or non-fiction-y, but also it kind of takes away that joy of picturing the characters for yourself if they're on the front cover. And if there's like one defining feature where there's a main character who's got green eyes and ginger hair, and there's a photograph of a green-eyed, ginger-haired person on the front cover, you know that that's that character. But it's taken away all opportunity for you to visualize, and for me, I will just get stuck on what the front cover looked like. That sounds really specific, doesn't it? I agree. I'm not keen on it as an aesthetic, and then also practically, it just doesn't gel with me personally. I judge a book by its font. Ugly font, won't read. I respect this opinion. I don't think I've ever not read a book because of the font. This looks like really standard book font. I hate it when the font is tiny. You know, people write really thick books with thin pages and tiny font. Just edit down. Like, there is so much in here that did not need to be said. I tend to avoid really, really thick books. I've gone to add a couple on my to-read list on Goodreads, and I've seen how long they are, and then I've gone, no, it's not worth it. There's a couple I still will, but generally, if it's more than like 600 pages, I will avoid unless I desperately want to read it. Yeah, font can put me off. Do you know what put me off, though? I nearly bought a book. Talking of wicked, there was a book called Dorothy Must Die, and it sounded amazing. And I was in the bookshop and I picked it up, and instantly I was like, ugh. The front cover, it was a paperback, and it just had this texture that I felt like I could feel it scratching against my fingerprints. And I don't know if that sounds really weird. Like, the texture of it was awful. It was like the chalkboard nail situation. I literally could not get that book. I will need to find either an audiobook version, although whilst I respect audiobook, amazing, I sometimes struggle to listen to them because I feel like I want my hands to be doing something. So like, I love holding a book. It means I can't hold my phone. I am reading and it keeps me really into the book to have something to physically hold. So audiobooks, whilst I love them, they're great for car journeys. I struggle to just like sit and listen to an audiobook and do nothing else. If anyone has recommendations of what you do whilst listening to an audiobook, maybe I could colour. Maybe I could do some colouring in whilst I listen. That would be great. I'm going to give that a go. But what was I saying? I have no idea where this conversation was going. Oh, I could listen to the audiobook of the Dorothy book. So if I don't like the feel of the book, I will also not read it. And I'm sure if it had crappy font, I will not read it either. Oh, this one's come up before, but snobbery over books sucks. I enjoy my comics and my queer YA and my highbrow literature. Yes, you read whatever you want to read, whatever takes your fancy. Honestly, I wasn't snobby, but thinking that other people would be and would judge me stopped me from feeling comfortable to branch into this as an area of content for a long, long time. Like, I've wanted to speak about this online, and there's been other things. It's not the primary factor or the only factor, but it is a partial reason of me just thinking, oh, I don't read the kind of books you need to read to talk about books online. I'm not like balls deep in all the book knowledge. I don't know everything there is to know. I don't read the classics. I don't read like a huge variation of genre either. I kind of stick within some specific genres that I really enjoy. I read a lot of YA fiction, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to speak about things on the level or in a way that people would want to enjoy watching. But then I was like, no, that is rubbish, because snobbery should not be encouraged within the literary world, and we should be able to read what we want and talk about it if we want to. So I very much agree with that. I was not a fan of The Great Gatsby. I think there are better books on class/wealth. So obviously I'm very new to making book content, and I asked on Instagram for like hot book takes, and I got a good amount of responses, but not as much as if I would put something out about like an LGBTQ plus topic. But this Great Gatsby one came up multiple times, and honestly, I don't know the answer, because my perspective of The Great Gatsby is so skewed and so biased because I did it for my A-level English literature, and I found that every single book I did at A-level English literature I ended up hating. Whilst I respect English literature, and I think there are many good points about it, and I think it's great to look into these books and blah blah blah, I do think sometimes they over-egg it, and it's just, you're reading it and it's like, he ate an apple, and the teacher's just like, class, what do you think the author meant by saying that Bob ate an apple? It's like, well, Bob ate an apple, that's what he meant. It's like, no, it means that Bob is considering life and the fruits of life. It is very deep him eating this apple. And I just got so fed up with over-analyzing every single sentence of these books. And I did that to The Great Gatsby. So I ended up hating it. Like, it's such a small book and I struggled to read it. So I don't like it. Maybe I would now if I reread it. Maybe I should reread the books from English Literature A-level and see if I can form a better relationship with, see if we can become friends, if we can make good, build that burnt bridge. But yeah, I struggle with The Great Gatsby. And I haven't actually watched the new film. I watched the old one when I was doing English Literature, but I have not watched the new film because I was like, I'm bored of this story now. If characters share names of people I know, I can't read it because I'll just imagine my people. Oh, that's hilarious. I can disconnect if it's the name of somebody I like. If a character has the name of somebody that I don't like, I really struggle, especially if they're meant to be a likable character. I'm very much like, oh, no, I don't like you. It will take a long time to like take away that barrier, especially because you are free to imagine what these people look like and how they sound. So often if I see a name, this is not the name of somebody I know and don't like, but let's go with Bob again. I actually love Bob's Burgers, as you can see, but let's just go with Bob for now. If I had had a massive falling out with someone called Bob, or they'd been a dick to me, and I was reading a book and it was like Bob, I would immediately see and hear the Bob that I don't like, and then I would struggle. So yeah, it has happened, but I've never not read a book because of it. It does take me a minute to be like, no, read the character description, reshape them in your head. It's not the Bob you know. This is a fictional Bob who is very different from real life Bob. Books should look beat up if they were loved. I hard disagree with this. No. They can look super beat up and be loved, and they can look pristine and be loved. I think there is no more or less loving of a book depending on the condition. My books will look beautiful and brand new and not split down the spine at all. I will show you. This book, also I would highly recommend Megan Lally. This book I have read, and this is how I read books. Well, paperbacks. Like this. See? The spine is perfect and look beautiful, as it should be for me. If you don't want it like that, it's totally fine, but I don't think it should be beat up in order to show that it's loved. And 2, BookTok books suck 90% of the time. I am new to this corner of the internet. I don't know a huge amount about BookTok. So by BookTok, I would assume that you mean the books that are made like viral or get highly recommended on BookTok. Well, on TikTok, rather than just books that BookTokers recommend. But I'm not 100% sure on that. So let me know if anybody has an introductory guidance to BookTok. I would very much appreciate it. TikTok generally kind of scares me. I don't know the most amount about BookTok, but I have heard of like a couple books going viral, but then not actually kind of living up to the hype, if that makes sense. Children and YA books are for everyone. Yes, we have already discussed this. They absolutely are. You can love a book and know it's terrible, and also hate a book while knowing it's well written. I think this feeds a lot into the snobbery of things, because there's this expectation that we should only be reading books that are objectively and in a literary sense really well written. And I think that's also where a lot of the snobbery over classics comes from as well. I just find a lot of them really dull and dry and difficult to read. Like, they're mouthfuls. But I absolutely think it's okay if you can recognize that from like an actual writing perspective, a book is trash, but you absolutely love the storyline or the characters, or you actually really like that writing style, then go for it, because everything to do with like art and creativity is so subjective. Yes, there are some objective elements where things are really terrible, and that can happen, but I do think what is beautiful and wonderful to another person will be dull and dry to somebody else, and what is dull and dry to them will be absolutely amazing to some. It's so subjective. Just read what you want to read, it's fine. And finally, this is a good one to end on, the Bible. Not my cup of tea. I would have to agree, the Bible is not my cup of water, tea, or coffee. Like, I'm not a religious person at all, and the Bible is too full of gore and sacrifice and murder and all of that. So actually, that's a lie, because I do enjoy books that are more horror themed with murder and crime and all of this stuff. But generally, the Bible, no, it just seems unnecessary. Not into it. And that is all of the hot book takes for today. Please go let me know what you think down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not? On what things? I feel like probably the most divisive thing I said today, which I could turn out to be very wrong about, but I feel like it's the thing about the condition of books and cracking the spine. I think there's definitely 2 camps. It's a whole Marmite situation. Some people are like, yes, no, books, pristine, beautiful forever. And other people are like, no, you read that book, you crack that spine. You gotta do it, otherwise it doesn't count. I will never go against against my morals around cracking book spines, but I do not judge those who wish to crack a good spine. It's okay. I just won't borrow books from you. I did recently accidentally bend the spine of a book, and I was so gutted, but then I was also frustrated with myself because I was sat there reading the rest of it going, wow, this is actually much easier to read, but I still can't make myself do it deliberately. If you like this video, think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing. I truly appreciate you watching. I also want to say a big shout out and thank you to my Patreons. You see some names going up the screen, so people who support me over on Patreon. Really helps me to be able to keep creating and branch off and create this kind of content as well that is brand spanking new, and I really hope that you're enjoying it. And a big shout out to my top tier Patreons: Ginger Blues, Albar, Bildad the Shuite, Chloe, Dylan Irving, Eldon K, Gosco, Iona Balash, Jesse Entwistle, Marv Mallow, Max Makes Mods, Night Soul, Nesta, Rachel Raptor, Randy, Riley Ray, River Champagne, Sally Drew, Sarah Hobbs, Sienna Lamb, Slayer, Spring Metal Dragon, Sugar Joe, TNS Mum, The Paisley Prince, and Third Hat Man. Thank you so much for all your support. Truly means a lot. And yeah, that's it from me today. Much love. I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye.